Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for BroadwayWorld. Tony Danza is back on Broadway alongside Rob McClure and Brynn O'Malley in the new Jason Robert Brown and Andrew Bergman musical Honeymoon in Vegas, which is based on the hit film. And I caught up with the company on opening night. It is opening night. You look stunning.
Thank you.
How do you feel tonight?
So relieved. So relieved. We love this show so much and we care about it so much, and we've been just hoping and praying and waiting for so long for this night. So. And weirdly, the show is it's an entity on it's not about us, the individual. It's just like, oh, the baby's all grown up, the baby did it, and the baby graduated tonight to Broadway. So just so relieved and so happy for the show, and especially for Jason and Andy, who have been, slaving over this thing for 10 years. I've got nothing to say about my wait. Every time I start to complain, I go, well, but Jason and Andy have been waiting 10 years, so.
When did you start with the show?
I guess about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I auditioned for the Paper Mill production. And then it kind of started from there. And I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like we've been waiting 20 years because we just love the show so much, and it was a whole year of, passing on things, even though we didn't know for sure if it was coming or not, because you just go, I don't want to be doing that show when I might be doing this show. And nobody wanted to be in a position where they were doing something else, and then you find out this show.
I'm waiting, I'm doing Honeymoon in Vegas.
I know. There's so many people in the company too that really turned down a lot of opportunities that were exciting and really a surefire deal, because they're just like, I love this show so much, I can't not be a part of it.
What has it been like mining this comic material? The journey you take us on is amazing, because you go all the way with her, the colors you give her and everything else. How much fun is she?
It's an absolute blast. It's been such a deep well of, options for Betsy, and we worked really hard and we spent a lot of time on developing her Paper Mill, but even more for Broadway, because, there's a lot of pitfalls for Betsy. It's very easy for this to be a sexist musical, and I think we worked really hard and very carefully and specifically to make sure that it never becomes that, and that she's never a victim, and she's always in charge of herself, and then the fun part of it too is then playing those moments, but then also trying to find the places where there's a release for Betsy, where you can see a different color for her, or see her out of her element, or seeing her drunk and silly and happy. So she's a fully realized character and not just.
Oh, totally. And working with this cast, talk about your leading men.
Oh God, this cast is the best group of people. If we could all live together in a house, we would. Tony and Rob are just the best. I feel like I have the older brother and the younger brother I never had. We're all so close to each other, and we can trust each other, and I can come to Rob with anything, and the number of times we've come to each other and been like, I need this right here in this moment, and he's just like, I got it. He's like, I need this from you, and I'm like, no problem. And it's rare to have that kind of a relationship with an actor.
And no one has heard a score like this from Jason. This is like his Broadway, fun, throwback homage to but so clever.
But so clever and so eclectic. I keep saying, I feel like, I've never asked him about this. This is purely my own opinion. But in my mind, it's a little bit like Jason went, all right, what do you want? You want an Elvis number? You want a Cy Coleman song? Do you want something that sounds like me? You want a romantic? What do you want? Here's every single thing I can possibly write. It's all fantastic. Yeah. Every single one's a showstopper. Boom. I just feel like this is him stretching every possible musical muscle he has and showing.
My final question, when you took your bow tonight, the audience was on their feet. Yeah. What were you thinking?
I think it was the first moment during the entire night tonight where I actually went, oh, we did it. It's Broadway, and the show finally made it, and it's getting the reaction that I want to give it. So it's nice to see that reflected in the audience, just people on their feet going nuts for a show that really deserves it.
So congratulations. It is opening night on Broadway. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. To get to the finish line with this group of people, with this piece, it's been so much fun, and tonight to be with the audience that took us on a ride. That whole theater was alive and exciting. It was great. Really great.
Talk about this wonderful world that you live in, what you love about this material.
Well, it's a magical place where you can figure out your life. It's about love. It's about how we have to take some risks and figure out, and it's not easy. And it does it in a very celebratory way. And the characters take risks and get in kind of really, difficult dilemmas. But they do it and it says it's good to do that and it's worth it. And I love that. That's what it says. And they're clowns, and it's romantic and great music. Who wouldn't want to live in Honeymoon in Vegas?
Yeah, totally. Talk about collaborating with your team.
Well, Jason and Andy are pros and smart and fun and funny, and they approach the work with a lot of mischief and joy, and so being with them is wonderful, and they really they're really as a director they're very generous in letting taking the material and saying, well, what do you want to do with it, and I will miss being in the room with them every day. I really will.
Hilarious in this thing. Talk about this guy that you play.
Johnny Sandwich. Yeah, he's sidekick to Tony Danza's character, Tommy Corman, and he's just he's one of those guys. It's kind of like a classic comedy trope, Yeah. There's like there's the alpha guy, and then there's like the sidekick guy who's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Absolutely, we're definitely doing that. But he doesn't always get it right. Yeah. So he takes me on this kind of quixotic quest to try and recapture his lost love, and I'm trying to fulfill it for him. I'm trying to help him best I can. I don't always do the best job, but I'm loyal,
And working with Tony Danza.
It's such a privilege and a pleasure. He's really aces. Can't say enough good things about Tony Danza. He's a great talent. He's a super hard worker. He's an amazing team leader, and he loves what he does.
Listen, working with Jason Robert Brown, what a great score. So different from what we usually hear from him.
I know, it's so thrilling. I was a little late to the party, and so I didn't know a lot of his work until only the last few years. I didn't know the last 5 years.
Now you know all of them.
I didn't know Parade, of course. Once I started working with him, I went back and I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's so thrilling to be a part of this new score of his, because it's such a new tone, and it's so spot on, like classic musical theater, classic 60s arrangements for band, for like a lounge band. I mean, it's so good. And New York should be super excited about this show and about what comes next from him as well, because the guy's like a fountain.
Take me back to the beginning for a second. You and I spoke in the rehearsal room at Paper Mill. This is such a fun show to watch. What has it been like choreographing and musical staging?
Oh, I hope it's just as fun to watch as it was to actually stage. We had a blast with the cast, and the material's so funny and warm and buoyant. I think the personalities of the cast are equally so, and we just tried to sort of create a physical world around them, and that sort of echoed that as well. And it was just a delightful process. It really was.
Talk about collaborating with Gary Griffin, your director, and then with the composer, lyricist, and book writer.
Oh yeah, they're amazing guys. We really had a great time. Gary's so smart, such a gentleman, has such a keen sense of like kind of the emotional core of it, that he keeps us honest in a way. And Andrew is such a super funny guy and so supportive and just like a wonderful man to have around. And Jason's just a crazy genius. So there you go. Those were my guys.
What is it like mining the comedy of the songs of Jason and the comedy of Andrew Bergman?
They're amazing guys. They both are. And they're very specific about how they write comedy, too. And they really want you to do it their way. And I'm more than willing to do that because it's perfect. They work really hard to sort of make it perfect. And so you just try to line up with them. And if you do, it's a great time.
You were so crazy funny as the mother. What is it like playing her?
I have this really great sort of arc now. I have this great arc, and I really have this real change in the show too. And I really become compassionate, and I have a great ending that is sweet and lovely, and so I'm happier about my arc, my character arc, than I was at Paper Mill. For me,
was out of town.
Yeah, and for me, this really tells the story in a way that I'm delighted that it's being told. Yeah.
When you took your bow tonight, audience on their feet, what were you thinking?
You know what? I've done 13 of these, and there's very few that I could say matched the feeling tonight.
Okay. When you took your bow tonight, what was going through your mind?
Well, my parents were here, my wife was here, Kelly O'Hara was in the first row. I had to speak to her during when I was playing the lounge singer. I was thinking, everybody loves this show, so I can't wait to do it every night. I really love doing it every single night.
was going to ask you, audiences love this show. The other night, the doors opened on 41st Street. Everybody went out with a smile.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, I know, friends are going to be nice, but everyone I see is just, it's infectious and people love it.
Working with Tony Danza.
Now, Tony Danza he's the boss, he's the best, he has his dressing room right by the stage, and the door is always open. He's like, come in here, hey, I got to show you this. If there's anything that's a picture of he and I or anything, it starts at the top, and he's the top, and he's fantastic. He's the best.
If you could sum up the best part of the experience so far with working on this show, David, what's it been for you?
God, didn't we just do all of them? But the best thing about the show, you know what? Here's what it is. I've been doing this show for 9 years, readings of it on and off, and to see this one come to fruition, that's the best part. And to have Jason have what I think is going to be a giant hit, that's the best part.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You opened on Broadway?
Look at this man's face.
Oh,
look
I
at
love
this sweet man's face.
Aww.
He is, whenever I do any of these things and he's around, you know you're in for a good night.
I love you.
I love you.
It is your opening night. How do you feel? Look how handsome you look tonight.
Thank you. Thanks. It's thrilling. It's thrilling. It's been a 2-year journey for me. It's been almost a 10-year journey for Andrew Bergman, who started thinking about this a long time ago. So for it to culminate in this night is just absolutely thrilling. It's an honor to be a part of, to think about being a vessel who will introduce Broadway audiences to new Jason Robert Brown material. It makes me, I can't even deal with that. If you told 19-year-old me that I would be doing that, I would have fell over and died.
And the funniest Jason Robert Brown, something we're not used to.
Yes, Jason is funny.
Yeah.
Those lyrics, he wrote a score that sounds like a throwback, but if you listen to the words, they are not throwback. They are right now on top of this Vegas big band Rat Pack sound, which the audience just eats up. It's the second that overture starts, which, we have an overture, which is just so thrilling.
Okay, mining this comedy and playing this brilliant role, what it's meant to you.
It's so fun, it's great to get to play the pinball in the pinball machine, It's like he is up against some extraordinary circumstances. And I looked to comedy greats like Bill Murray and Eddie Bracken and Chevy Chase and these guys who usually play everymen who are thrown into extraordinary circumstances, and it's their feet on the ground responding to such outlandish things in a way that I might. That brings, I think, the comedy in. I can feel the audience on board with me. So if I can take them somewhere crazy and make them believe it exists, then the comedy comes out of the truth of the moment.
Working with this cast, working with Tony and Brynn.
First of all, Nancy Opel as my mom. Nancy has an entrance in the first act that if the audience is wondering what this show is going to be, when she shows up, you know exactly what the show is going to be. And you know you're in for a good time. And that voice, my God. Tony Danza is a dream. He's one of those guys who, when you watch a movie or a TV show and you think I hope that person's as cool as I imagine he is. He is everything you hope he is. He's generous, he's kind, and he's also the real deal. He's tap dancing and playing the ukulele. There's nothing stunty about his casting. He's the guy for the part. And Brynn O'Malley is, what I love about her is that Betsy could have been a pretty female ingenue. And she's not. Betsy is a strong, contemporary woman who gets thrown into some situations which are questionable, certainly for the contemporary woman, but it is her strength and her wit that you go, this is a strong woman. And Jack realizes that if he's going to keep a woman like that, he's got to buck up and he's got to start making the right choices and he's got to wake up. Yeah.
Taking your bow tonight, the whole audience was on their feet. What were you thinking? Do you remember?
It's one of those things where you can't believe you're done. First of all, you're here, you made it. Because, rehearsal previews, it's all culminating to this moment when we can finally breathe and our show is set, our show is open, and now we can just bring it to people. So usually the curtain call of an opening night is usually a big ol' exhale. And to have it be received in the way it was tonight brought tears to my eyes. It was thrilling.
It is so wonderful that I have been able to watch your star rise from the very first thing you did. I mean, do you ever pinch yourself and walking down the street to the Nederlander, seeing the marquee, seeing your picture plastered everywhere? You're on Broadway.
Every day. Today, I walked on the stage after the show and the cast of Taxi was swarming Tony. And I showed up with a marker and my Honeymoon in Vegas poster to ask all of them to sign my poster. I how the hell did I get here? I don't know. But it's a thrill and an honor to be.
I watched 1,100 people Friday night walk out of that theater. Everybody was smiling.
Yeah,
What is it like for you?
No, it's one of the effect it has on the audience is great. And you know, what's really interesting is that it has the spectrum from 8-year-olds to 87-year-olds, everybody in between. I think people identify with what you'll do for love and a good laugh. How about a laugh and good music? It's just, you know, I'm not kidding you. I was reading I don't know what the heck where I saw it, but the last line was that every place I go, and I see everything, Richard, but everything I go, I see something and everybody's clapping at the end, and I say to myself, wow, if they like this, wait till they see our show. So that's how I feel about it.
So my final question for you is, you're back on Broadway,
Yes.
singing, acting, dancing. When you took your bow tonight, what were you thinking?
Well, first of all, I was thinking about all the people that were there, you know, and I have my daughters are there, and my brother's there, my uncle's there, you know, there's a real, you know, but, you know, this thing has been something that I've been with for over 4 years. You know, you hear people say that, well, I've spent 5 years. I actually did spend 4 years of my life trying to make this thing happen, and here we are. And it's really gratifying that people like something that you felt so strongly about. You know, I feel so strongly about it. I just think it's one of those things, you know, I had a family come. The guy said to me I went to the TKTS booth, I'm not supposed to mention it. But anyway, I went to the booth and I saw a guy, he's with his family. I said, what are you going to see? He said, you know, of course, you know what he's going to see with the kids. I said, come see Honeymoon in Vegas. I says, it's family friendly. He said, what'd you say it's called? I says, Honeymoon in Vegas. He goes, doesn't sound family friendly to me. So I said, come, if you don't like it, I guarantee it. I wouldn't steer you wrong. I'll come out at the end, you can tell me I'm a bum. So I came out at the end, he was there. And you know what he said to me? He said, it's the first time that I've enjoyed something with my kids that they enjoy. I enjoyed it and they enjoyed it. That's pretty good.